Hello and happy Monday. I hope you're off to a great start this week, and I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. But now we're into the holiday season full force. And so as we think about the holiday season that's coming upon us, or that has been thrown upon us, we often think about, okay, so we want to have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday, and it is the season for joyfulness. And, often we think about this time of year as so it's supposed to be such a joyful season, but for a lot of people, it's not necessarily that joyful. And so I thought that we could talk about this, and I thought, how appropriate to talk about this with my daughter, Joy, and talk about how to have a joyful holiday season. And what are some practical ways that we can really look at the holiday season from a new, I just want to call it a new perspective. And I think that that is possibly one of the number one things we need to talk about is having a good perspective as we start into the holidays. So Joy and I have been talking about this, and Joy, would you just share some of your thoughts about having a good perspective, having a broader perspective throughout the holiday season?
Well, and I think when we were talking about perspective, it was a reminder of how I've handled different Christmas days in the past. And sometimes I handle it with when Christmas Day gets here, there's just relief that the stress of planning and spending all this money and gift buying and traveling is now at its end. There's been Christmas days where I just feel sadness because I've been looking forward to this one day. I've been getting the kids excited for this one day. There's so much hype, and now it's over. And I have to admit, rarely, and this is even in our conversation, something that I'm going to be more intentional about is letting Christmas Day truly be the celebration that it's meant to be.
Yes.
And I've really had to think about what can make this, how can I be intentional about making it a day of celebrating Christ's birth and just what that entails for our salvation and eternity. And it really made me think, how can I be actively trying to make this day a day of celebration? And so I just wanted to even mention what I've recently going to be putting into practice, and I think that y'all might be able to do as well, is just even having, especially now today's December 1st or December 2nd, we are going to be starting our Advent. And I know many people can download this online, or you can pick it up at your church. I was able to pick up one specifically geared towards kids, so I can do this with both my girls. And each day you have an Advent that focuses on leading up to Christmas Day, where it's talking about a little craft and a little message that's a reminder of why we're celebrating Christ's birth and why we can really get excited about Christ's birth. So I encourage that y'all to download that as well.
So I love this because this week, in fact, I'm going to be having on my website, on my blog, I'm going to be having 25 ways, 25 days of praise, and each day a different attribute of the Lord that we can focus on and praise the Lord for, because it is good for us to turn our eyes off of the things that we think we have to do and have to get done, and to turn our eyes on the bigger picture of who God is. And I think that that's what perspective is all about, is stepping back.
Sure.
And so often we're in the thick of things, and things seem so big, and that I've got to get this tradition done, and I've got to do it this way every year. And we get so focused on what we think Christmas should look like, and we do lose perspective. Mm-hmm. And so perspective to me means stepping back and looking at the bigger picture and saying, in the big picture of eternity, how does this really matter? And in the big picture of Christmas, how does this really glorify Him and play out in a way that glorifies Him? So what else would you add to that, Joy? Do you have something else that you love to do at Christmas that really helps point you in a new perspective?
Well, especially now with kids, things are a lot different. You can easily go through the day and not and just look back on the day and wonder if you really made an impact. And so again, lots of it takes being intentional and planning things out. Even small ways are ordering Christmas books online that not just are they silly fun books that my 4-year-old and 1.5-year-old can understand, but that they can point them towards Christ as well, even if it's like a child nativity book. Recently we went to Hobby Lobby and we purchased little paints and crafts that they can paint their own nativity, and through those craft times we can be talking about what that why we're painting this, why are we painting donkeys, why are we painting a manger, and we can talk about each one individually, and then we can set that up in our house and constantly look back at it for these next 25 days.
Oh, I love that. I love that. It's just very deliberate. It's wonderful, deliberate ways to keep things in perspective instead of getting hyped up or upset about little things that don't really matter in the big scheme of life. So, we have so much to talk about as far as other ways to have a happy holiday season. So if it's okay with you, which I'm sure it is, we're going to tackle this each Monday during December. So I hope you'll join us again next Monday as Joy joins me and we talk about joyful ways to make it through the holidays. So have a great week, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week here at Positive Life Principles.